Minister. The question is that the proposed expenditure be agreed to. I give the call to the member for Moncrieff.
Thank you, Acting Deputy Speaker. And over the last couple of months, I've spoken in great detail about the government's cheaper childcare bill, and my colleagues and I have asked hundreds of questions of this government regarding their plan, and yet we're still to receive any real answers, even though the bill has now passed through all of its processes this morning. We've spent hours in the chamber, in the Senate inquiry and Senate estimates, on the floor of the other place, trying to get any information at all out of this government on how this policy will deliver for families who need it most. And all we've learned is that Labor has no real implementation plan, just statements and numbers, no actual implementation plan, certainly to address any of the rising costs, to address the lack of access for families, particularly in regional and remote areas around our country where this bill does not address that big problem, huge problem at all for 9 million Australians who live in a childcare desert. There's no plan to address the current workforce concerns, and the Coalition has been very strong about outlining exactly how are they going to fix that particular plan, and there's been a few grand statements again, but no actual implementation plan. Let me be clear that the opposition on our side, we believe in choice for families, and we believe Australian families should be able to make their own choices for their children in their best interests. And we also believe in ensuring that working families who need care can access it, and this, of course, is a big problem with many of my National Party colleagues who live in regional and remote Australia, which is why the opposition has not opposed this bill. And I'll repeat that just for the Prime Minister, who, when the bill was introduced to the Parliament, didn't quite hear, or didn't quite, perhaps he misheard like the Treasurer, but didn't quite hear or didn't quite acknowledge or understand what I said at the dispatch box, which was that the opposition will not oppose this bill and will not stand in the way of any additional support for working families. But that doesn't mean we don't have those very real concerns that the policy the cost will blow out and it won't deliver what the government has promised, because they just simply haven't done the work around this bill. Now, the Coalition does have a strong record when it comes to delivering access for families, and under our government there were 280,000 more children accessing early childhood education, and under Labor's policy there's a huge concern from many in the sector that there are not enough places for the additional children that may flood the system on July 1 next year. Now, 9 million Australians, as I said, live in a childcare desert, and that's 9 million Aussies who, if they have a child, will not be better off under this policy because they can't access care through this bill. It makes sense, perfect sense to us on this side. They can't access one extra place. We've asked the government time and again what their plan is to address these concerns and increase access in those areas, and they've come back with nothing. They've come back with zero. $4.7 billion in taxpayer money, and not one extra place has been created for Australian families. So this is disappointing news. They've pointed to the Childcare Community Fund on a number of occasions, but with no funding for the next grant round in the October budget, nor any info on when the next round will actually open, except to say shortly. So we've asked the government how many more educators will be needed in the sector to meet the increased supply of children from July 1. Again, no answer, just waffling speeches about TAFE and university places. Out-of-pocket childcare costs came down 4.6% in the year to June 2022, thanks to the changes we made when we were in government. And in contrast, Labor's always believed that, of course, your money is their money. But Labor have changed the price tag of this policy, and this is where I come to my question. The price tag's changed 5 times now. First it was $5.4 billion, then it went to $5.1 billion, then $4.5 billion, and now they've settled on $4.7 billion. And I read a media story yesterday by the Minister that it was $5 billion. So I asked the Minister, which is it? What is the price tag on this policy? Is it likely to blow out? Is it actually likely to bring down costs for families around Australia? Has the government done the modelling on that? Because Labor, as we know, do the bare minimum when it comes to any work on these grand ideas that they have. No GDP modelling, no attendance or behavioural change modelling. Again, we've heard nothing from this government. And so I ask, with no real plan to implement this policy, How can you expect to deliver on all the promises that you made to Australian families before the last election? And I ask, what is the actual cost? What is the actual cost of this policy to the budget?